Hey there friends, welcome back to As a Man Thinketh on Yanas TV. I decided to shoot today's video next to my Father's Day gift over here. It's pretty nice. It does everything for you. You don't even have to think when you use it. Today I wanted to talk about beef prices. Is a beef apocalypse on the horizon? And yes, we are at like a 74-year low when it comes to our herd sizes here in the United States. And that is causing a dramatic price increase in beef. For those of you who haven't noticed that, I don't know where you have been, but I have been warning on this channel for a long time about the different things that could cause food prices to just skyrocket. And I think that this is more of a long-term cycle that's going to continue for some time. I mean, we're still experiencing some dramatic issues that are going to keep us from expanding that herd size anytime soon. But today's video is actually a little more troubling than that. The largest beef processing facility in the United States down in Texas is on the verge of shutting down. It's going to be shut down because a union, I think it's the 557 local Teamsters, 577, sorry, got your name wrong. 577 local Teamsters voted with a 98% vote to go on strike if they don't get what they want out of Tyson. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of Tyson. So I have no doubt that the things that they're asking for, better working conditions, safer working conditions, higher wages, are all probably things that they feel that they need. And I wouldn't necessarily put that aside in this particular situation. And I have no doubt that Tyson is a tough negotiator when it comes to that stuff, because where else are they going to go to work? But that's the problem with this country, and that's the problem with this thought process. And what I have seen from Teamster political support over the years is that they've built this situation. They've built it because they like having the power to walk in and say, hey, we're going to shut you down and we're going to have an impact across the United States and make food a heck of a lot more expensive for everybody across the nation because we have the power to do so. Thanks to the fact that, we also have voting power. They have a lot of power. Teamsters do. Unions in general. I don't like organizations that involve mass thinking, using the masses to infiltrate an agenda. But when we look at this situation and you think about it, how did we get here? How did we get to the point where the largest beef processing facility of Tyson's in this country is on the verge of getting shut down? How did we get to the point where every consumer in this country can be impacted by food prices by a non-governmental agency, a non-governmental entity? And I know that people join unions, and some of you are probably union members, so it's nothing against you. It's looking at what these unions have done to create this situation. And I'm not just dismissing Tyson at all. I don't like Tyson. Tyson has been involved in this too, because Tyson likes the fact that if you're a beef producer, you've got to sell through them or you don't have a hand in the market, right? I mean, the mega packers of this country control 90% of the beef supply, the meat supply. It's really tough for farmers to find a market outside of them. And they control the entire thing. And they push legislation that keeps small farmers from being able to go direct to consumer. Every day, more and more Americans are waking up to the fact that our society is simply unhealthy. We've been being fed poisons and being told to put poisons on our body by corporate America for years. A lot of the things that we've been told were bad for us, like animal fats, are actually good for our bodies. Your skin is the largest organ of your body, which is why on Yanas Trade & Co., we're pleased to offer you guys bison tallow lotions and creams. These bison tallow lotions and creams are amazing. They're not made by a big corporation. They're made by a homesteader, just like you guys, our friends out of Canada, Dr. Nathaniel and Susan Ostashowski. We've visited numerous bison ranches and farms and parks across the entire continent of North America. And these are some really great people who have come up with some really great products, and you can buy them on Yanas Trade & Co. and support this program and support your health all at the same time. I was looking at this, what could we do to stop this situation, to make sure that the U.S. consumers aren't impacted by a feud between a union, a bunch of union workers, and Tyson, who I'm not a huge fan of either one, to be honest with you. President Trump does have a couple tools at his disposal to keep meat prices low, well, not low, they're not low at all, to keep meat prices from going up even higher. There's what we call the Taft-Hartley Act. This is where the president can compel union workers to go back to work for 80 days if their strike would impact the national health or security of our country. Clearly, it would. So I have no doubt that that would be one of the solutions that the president could pull out of his pocket and say, hey, look, we're going to do this. If they do that, they'll probably have the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service step in and try and negotiate some sort of deal between the two. My guess is that they would order the worker, if they went on strike, they would order the workers back for 80 days and then they would have the service come in. This is typically what we've seen with railroad strikes and other situations across the country in the past. So it's a pretty standard gameplay. The National Labor Relations Board can step in and actually get some of the things that the union wants from Tyson. I believe that they've already had an investigation going anyway, so again, that wouldn't be a hard thing for them to do. They would probably get involved at that point as well. The last thing that Trump has done in the past, if you guys remember COVID, he implemented what was called the Defense Production Act, which shifts production as kind of a mandatory shift to help stabilize the U.S. economy. And back in COVID, he did it to help create vaccines, but he could use that act in this particular situation to stimulate meat production and make sure that meat prices stay, relatively absurdly high where they are now. That, of course, there's always congressional pressure. We know how much Congress likes to put pressure on people, although I don't necessarily think it ever does much, unfortunately. I don't think that Congress has as much pull as they used to have. Now, the agencies did have a lot of pull. I don't know, what the agencies would do in this particular situation other than the agencies that I discussed here. The other thing, and this is where I think we get things wrong sometimes. The other thing that we could do is revisit things like the Prime Act. A bill and taking a longer term approach towards our overall food sustainability. We got to look at the system at some point and say, look, we can't rely on these mega corporations to feed America. We can't rely on these gigantic unions to supply our labor force. What we need, and this is where both of these groups block this stuff all the time. They have, an incredible impact on our elected officials and are able to go in and just shut a lot of this stuff down or keep it from ever going through. But what we need is a complete refocus on our food supply and a shift back to the small producers. If you could go to your local grocery store and buy beef that was cultivated in your own town, produced in your own town, wouldn't you want that? It would be the freshest you could get. You wouldn't have to pack it in a bunch of gases and chemicals to get it across the country before things start going. You wouldn't have to jab it full of things to keep it fresh. It would just simply be fresh without all the preservatives, without all the junk, without all the gases, without all the things that we have to do to make food stay fresh in order to ship it. Bright Farms, I love Bright Farms. They're right here in Sanford. They produce salads and things. And I was kind of chuckling because I have a hard time finding their produce here in North Carolina, but we were in Wisconsin and they were all over the grocery store in Wisconsin. So we're shipping food halfway across the country. For those of you who are environmentalists, put this into perspective. We're shipping food all the way across the country. Nobody's buying local anymore. The stuff that they buy in North Carolina is coming from somewhere else. And in a way, it's a good marketing tactic. It's like, oh, you're eating Washington apples. How lovely. We grow apples in North Carolina as well. Everybody grows a lot of things. We all have the ability of growing produce. Problem is that the labor laws and the costs of labor compared to buying from third world countries, why not get things from Chile? I mean, it's just cheaper from Chile because Chile doesn't have the same standards that we have. We don't uphold them to those standards. We just buy from them and support them and then make our farmers live up to higher standards. So I think that we have to take a longer term approach to this. I don't think that we should be held hostage by Tyson and a union. I don't think that the Americans should pay out of pocket and make Tyson even richer because it's going to drive prices higher. I mean, it's a beautiful thing for him if you think about it. What we should have is better market access for the local producers. We should have a deregulation on smaller meat processing facilities because they don't have the same E. coli problems and salmonella problems that the large processing facilities have, but we make them live up to the same standards, which makes it financially impossible for anybody to start one of those businesses. That's the approach that we should take. And you know what? If they shut this down, that could give Trump, in my perspective, a reason to actually use the Defense Production Act to make a shift, make a dramatic shift. Let those big corporations know, you know what, if you guys are gonna play games, we don't need you because we have local producers, we have family farmers, but we're not gonna have them in the future if we don't start making that shift now. Because what's gonna happen is consumers are gonna pay more at the grocery store, farmers are gonna get cut out because they're gonna stop buying beef because they're not processing 6,000 cows a day. It's gonna upend the market. It's going to cause more consolidation, and it only benefits Tyson and the union. It only benefits them from having this drama unfold and impact all of us. The only way to make a change in this system is let the strike happen. Use the Defense Production Act to actually implement funds, implement strategies, implement deregulation to allow more of our smaller producers to have better access to the marketplace. Unintentionally, that happened in COVID, by the way. And a lot of producers were able to make a good amount of money during COVID, a lot of small producers. But the regulations, the regulatory environment was still stood in their way. This is something that I see on a regular basis, and I just can't help but wonder, you know, why are we here? Why can't we somehow transition to, you know, a better system, a better way? And then when I read stories like this, I'm quickly reminded because all of these guys have been lobbying to keep the system this way so they could hold all of us hostage. That's just the facts of the matter. And they may disagree with me. I'm sure that they will. Or they're sitting there laughing going, yeah, he's got it right. Anyway, guys, stay tuned for more here on Yanasa TV.
Ancient eras and natural selection have refined and tailored pristine fibers with the resilience for today's days. Evolving beyond the last ice age, bison wool is nature's most dependable activewear. Buffalo Wool Company, 100% proven by nature, 100% American made.
Check out the Buffalo Wool Company collection at yanasatradingco.com.